welcome to the Cherokee Purple Rundown. Yeah, so I'm going to be going over the 8 tracks on this album. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me just tell you a little bit about the album itself. So, recorded this summer, starting to end like around graduation season, because I finished Welcome Home a little bit after spring break, and then I put that out around the end of graduation. So this was like my next step. I had roughly 20 demos for this album. A lot of them suck dick. Sorry, I just said that. But it mostly started around, I think, early June is when the first real song happened. So the name Cherokee Purple, I was going through a lot of names, but it was like this album was supposed to be very close to home and about like my experiences over the last couple years and growing up in general, moving on to college or whatever. So Cherokee Purple is a reference to the heirloom tomato type Cherokee Purple. It's my favorite actually, but it's more of a reference to my time in the garden at Springs, working with Will and Graham and Alon and Riley. We had a really great time. It was work, but I actually really enjoyed it, and we had a lot of fun and made some of my best memories. So it's a reference to just that as like a memory. Like I wanted the album title to be a memory, just like all the songs were. So this is actually the first album I've released, besides Ribbon 3024, which doesn't really count, that has a picture of me on it. Yeah, so I did a little photo thing with my sister to take this picture. You know, I think I just wanted, since it's a sentimental album, I wanted to put a bunch of things that are close to me on there. So I got my synth and my camera and my drum machine, my guitar, but also, if you look really closely, I have a radio in the back, which is one of my items I have. My videotape thing that was my dad's. I used that a lot this summer. And just some items that I keep around my room. Like there's a frisbee on the left side of my head that is time traveling frisbee. Graham and I threw it from 2018 to 2019, so it time traveled a whole year. And then there's a cactus on the left that signifies Arizona, and, you know. And then just, you know, my disco shirt, that's a close thing to me. That's a very important item, you know. And then my bowling socks too, those are close for some unknown reasons. But yeah, they're obviously the side color is purple for Cherokee Purple, and there's a square peace sign at the top, which is a symbol I kind of like. So that's the rundown of the album cover and the album itself. So yeah, we're gonna start with track one. So song 1, On the Boulevard, was originally called Movie Night. It was inspired sometime this summer. Me and my friends went to see Spider-Man Homecoming in the theaters, and I don't usually go to the movie theaters a lot. It kind of scared me, to be honest. But in the movie, Spider-Man and Zendaya's character, I don't remember her name, like they really like each other, and they go on this trip, and Spider-Man's always trying to like impress her and stuff. And then at the end of the movie, sorry if I spoil anything, they meet each other on this bridge after all this destruction and stuff, and it's like this beautiful moment where everything perfect just comes together, and it's only something that like cinema magic can accomplish. So I wrote this song the night after I watched that movie because I just wanted everything to be really perfect, like in the movies, and that's where I just want to be how the movies came, because I just really wanted everything to be perfect and have that perfect moment and just have the cinema magic. But of course, at the end of the song, I end it with, maybe it's just another pointless dream. I'm just gonna go back to sleep. Because then I realized like all that cinema perfectness can't happen in real life, and it's just a movie. So that's On the Boulevard. The second song, Luce de Cielo, is one of the only instrumentals on the album that doesn't have any vocals at all. I recorded it at my grandmother's house on her keyboard. on 4th of July. It started as an improvisation, just messing around, and then I liked the riff, so I wrote it into a real song. And it's Italian for light of the sky, I think. I may be wrong, but whatever. Just because of, like, you know, fireworks on 4th of July and stuff. And it really just acts as a transition from the first song to the second song, because I didn't want to have two, you know, like, big songs back to back, and I like throwing little instrumentals and stuff in there. Yeah, that's that. That's song number 2. Song 3, Thrift Store Coffee Mugs. So this was the first song I ever produced for the album. I was on a plane coming back from Arizona, and I was listening to this album by this band called Mobeza Tobacco. They use a lot of, like, Juno synths and drum machines, and it's very cassette filtered, and I really like that sound, and it kind of kick-started the whole Cherokee Purple process. So it's funny because it's the first song that I recorded, and I took off work for a day because I was sick, and I recorded it in the 2 days I took off. I took off one day, and then it was the day after. It was like a weekend day or something. And I just recorded these big pads on this Juno plugin I bought. And yeah, usually my drum beats are pretty complicated, but this one was really to the point because I wanted the attention to be on the surrounding sounds and stuff. Like, there's a slide whistle in there, and I recorded my real piano at my house for this one, as well as an acoustic guitar, which I've never done, which is really cool. But yeah, this was the last song I wrote the lyrics for. It was about 4 or 5 days before I left for college. It tells a story about this time this summer I went thrift shopping with a really close friend of mine, and it kind of tells the story of when we entered the thrift store to when we left. And there's this one specific moment about which the name after is that she picked up these mugs, and she was really, really into it. And it just kind of struck me, like, it's a mug, but it means so much to her. You know, it's kind of a small thing, but that's what the lyric that says, like, it was a glass one with rings on the side. It's just a mug, I said with a smile. Like, it was like an old Olympics mug, and that's where the rings on the side was. You picked it up, but you couldn't decide. It's either this one or the one with the kites, because there was a couple mugs and she couldn't choose, and it was just like a small moment that really stuck with me. So that is Thrift Store Coffee. The 4th song, Sweet Gum, Jas and Alley. This is the longest song on the album. I know it's kind of long, but I was going for like an 80s DX7 ballad kind of thing on this one, with the, you know, bell sound or whatever. And I recorded half of it at my grandma's house on the same day that I did the second track. But this is probably one of the best riffs I wrote, in my opinion, not to like brag or anything. But yeah, Sweet Gum was an idea I had in my head. The street that leads to my house is called Sweet Gum, and I have, you know, I had 4 or 5 friends on that street growing up that I've always been really close with. We've done a lot of things together, so I wanted to write a song about us right before we all left for college and stuff, and things were different. So Sweet Gum, yeah, it's more of a story about experience on that street. So the lyrics in the chorus are kind of they're a little more mystical, I think. So, you know, just come down back to the streets that we know so well, which is Sweet Gum, of course, and follow the sounds down the hills we rode down, like riding our bikes down the hills and stuff, to find me laying right into time's hands. It's like you know, I'm laying right into time, giving myself to him to, like, because I have to grow up or whatever. Come join me and sit here while we watch ourselves grow. It's like a third-person perspective of watching ourselves, like, grow up, even though we've been together for so long. Um, I made them. I admitted in this song that I never wanted to grow up, which is kind of a deep thought for me. Like, just growing up has been such a scary process and stuff. So that was that. I have a voicemail that my friend Trey left me in where the second verse would go. He talks about some of our experiences on Sweet Gum and just like how it was growing up and stuff and how easy it was. So this is a double song. What happened was I made the demo for Sweet Gum first, and it wasn't a ballad, so I decided to put them together because I didn't want to make it more than 8 tracks. And Jazz and Alley would have been an instrumental on its own, but I thought it worked better because it shares the same chords as as Sweet Gum. So Jazz and Alley is inspired by the show End of the Fucking World. I watched on Netflix as a recommendation. I don't usually watch Netflix though. But the main characters are James and Alyssa, but Jazz is like a play on James, and Allie is just short for Alyssa. So the lyrics in this one are rather hidden in the mix, which is part of the effect. It's supposed to be kind of an airy sound, but it's kind of talking about how like they got in a lot of trouble in the show, like with crime and stuff, and it's like it says bleach blonde hair and stuff because the main character bleaches her hair blonde, and like it's about them on the run. It's just like a little, that show kind of touched me in certain places, so it was kind of just like I just wrote about that. So that is track number 4, Ashwood Doors. This song was the second song I ever made for Cherokee Purple. It was like 3 weeks into my job, which I hated, and I wanted to make an instrumental with this new patch I found on my synth, which is that like sound. Yeah, so it's instrumental, but it has lyrics from me in it too. Also, Will Davis does the part. It's really amazing. He did a really great job. One take, Will. But the lyrics in it, which are kind of hidden, but they come in on each side of the ear, it's just about how, like, at work, everything just kind of blurred by because I hated it so much. I would go to work, wish I would go home, come home, sleep till, like, I'd get off at 5, I'd sleep till 8, miss dinner, and then just have to wake up and do it all again the next day. So it says the days all fade to gray, momentary phases clear my mind. It's just like a certain moments at work when I'd be outside or I would see something really nice with the kids, like those help get through it. Open up the gates, I'm ready to face my new life. It's kind of me admitting like I'm ready to face like the future of my life, and open up the gates is just like a thing. Time just speeds away. Living day to day is tiring. It's just like, you know, at work, like time just blurs by, and I felt myself running out of time for things I really wanted to do and people to spend time with. Living day to day is tiring. Yeah, that's just like me going to sleep at 5 and waking up at 8 and wasting my day. I only want to stay. That was just kind of a final thing. Like I wanted to stay home and not go to work and just stay where I was. So that's track 5, Ashwood Doors. 6, July 12th, 1979. So over the summer, I got big into disco music. I know a lot of people hate it, but it's actually really fucking cool. So history behind the name. July 12th, 1979, a radio host held a disco demolition night at a Tigers, I think White Sox game, and they blew up a bunch of disco records in the middle of the baseball field during a doubleheader. And during that, a bunch of people rushed the field and the rest of the game got canceled, but they call that the night disco died. So at the time, I was listening to Random Access Memories by Daft Punk and Chic and a lot of really old disco tracks, and I wanted to make an ode to like to disco. So it's got like a steady 4/4 backbeat and you know, electric piano and chimes and all that good shit. And I originally wrote it about an experience, but then I decided to make it more about just like the love and feeling that disco gives off. So like I see you walking through the crowd now, silver lights bouncing off the ground. It's just like a disco ball reference. With the music, we'll be feeling right. Why don't you dance with me all night? It's nothing deep. It's just about just the love and whatever music and disco in general. And I say, remember July of '79? That was the night all the love died. So that was just a reference to disco's death or whatever. Yeah, so that's track 6. In Leo, this song is a closer song to me. It's more personal about just someone, you know. I'm surprised I'm making the video to talk to you about it because it's more deep. But yeah, this is the last song I recorded for Cherokee Purple. I went to family vacation in Orlando and I was looking for inspiration, and I listened to this album Watercolors by DuckTales. It's like a jazz infused soft rock album, so I used that kind of sound. I recorded real piano and electric piano, and instead of snares I used rim hits and stuff and chimes and whatever. So over the summer I got really into astrology and all, which is where Leo comes from. It's also someone who's really close is a Leo, and that's who the song is about. But yeah, it's in the verse I say, don't mind me, I'm only sitting here just like Peter on fresh air. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a big home shake person. It's a big influence on me. So that's a reference to his album Fresh Air, and he says that a lot in that album. So, but the chorus, it goes, tonight is our night, forget our lives, we've got one more chance, let's do it right. This feeling is right, so hold me tight, let's watch the lions in the sky. So that is a reference to, obviously, Leo astrology stuff, and it's just kind of like a sweet, you know, we don't have much time left, so let's just make it matter. That is track 7. Track 8, the final track, Dear Yesterday. So this was, I think earlier in the production cycle for the record. I'm sorry, I just called it a record. It's very short lyrically. I did it all on the fly. I was trying to record a melody and I just started singing stuff and it just kind of worked out. But yeah, it's the lyrics are, times are changing quickly, won't you stay here with me, darling. It's called Dear Yesterday because it's a closer to an album that's a lot about my experiences over the last couple years and growing up and stuff, and you know, trying to live in the moment of summer. So it's just like, you know, times are changing very quickly, like we're all going to school, you know, things aren't going to be the same. Won't you just stay with me, darling. The darling doesn't have a direct reference to anybody. It's just like you know, darling could be you or, you know, I don't know, anything else. Yeah, so it's kind of like the send-off track. A small thing is, if you listen really closely on the Boulevard, Jesus, there's a cassette sound of like someone putting a cassette into a player and closing it. I took that. That's my own sample. I took that on my cassette player. So at the end of Dear Yesterday, you hear the same sample again, almost as like if the cassette is changing from Cherokee Purple to something else. And the song that's played at the end of this song is actually the first song the very first song in the very first EP I ever put out under the Dead Slow name. OG fans will recognize that, you know who you are. Yeah, so that song was called Hello. It's kind of just a reference to like all the music I've made over the last year and a half, and it's just like the cassette's changing from, you know, since it's an album about like, you know, living, like, you know, wanting to live in the past or whatever. Since it's the very first song, the very first EP I ever put out, it's just kind of like a sentimental thing. But you know, then it warps down, because that's how, I'm not gonna play the whole song for you, because that's just weird. yeah, so that is the rundown of Cherokee Purple. Hope you enjoy.